Laochra Gael.
The ball comes out to Jimmy Doyle, and from the left touchline he shoots a brilliant point to put Tipperary 4 points in front.
Jimmy sends it over the bar, no padding about it at this stage, right over the bar.
Another attack, Jimmy Doyle scored his second point.
To Phil Lowry, Lowry to Jimmy Doyle tries a high one, sends it over the bar for a point. The teams are level, 1 goal and 3 points each, Jimmy Doyle the scorer.
A truly great day for Tipperary and for John Doyle, and of course too for the captain Jimmy Doyle of Tipperary.
Tá Jimmy Doyle rinnedas na himiróiris cáiliúla is stair na hamána. Seo é scéal.
Bhí craobh na stratha bútaige 7 nóire. Bhí craobh an bmhóthaíoran bútaige 7 nóire. Bhí craobh ile éireann an rád na síonseir bútaige 6 huaire. Os bhí sé enimnithe faoi gó mar ómánaí na bliana. Gach éana gradam a bhí le buinteach, bhíidir ge Jimmy Doyle, os bhíidir go léir tiltige is cuma cévéad uair a bhuaigh sé.
He was the greatest, yes. He's the best Tipperary forward I ever saw. And that's saying a lot. I saw a lot of them.
Jimmy Doyle was the Ballesteros of hurling. And I wouldn't describe him like as the Tiger Woods because he had a finesse about him. Like, you know, Ballesteros has been described that he could land a golf ball on the green like a butterfly landing on a wallflower. Now, Jimmy was the same. Jimmy had that just special touch, out-and-out skill.
I love hurling. I think it's the greatest game in the world. I won't doubt the fact, but hurling is the greatest skill game in the world.
Tá héal fad caitige Jimmy a mór na naamh láimh le staid simple agus ní mail sin áit ágant ró vinnic.
It's hard to take fame because no matter where you go, you're known, and you always like a little bit of privacy. You know, I'm that type of person. I like privacy, and you know, I'd been trying to hide myself, and you know, I'm living on my own, and Sean McLaughlin's medals, All-Ireland medals were stolen, and Billy Fitzpatrick of Kilkenny, his All-Ireland medals were stolen, which were 2 5s now. And I was always thinking of it and wanting to know, was I going to leave me medals hanging on a wall inside of my own home, and I wouldn't be there. I'm retired now, and I'm entitled to go, you know, get out there and go to matches and, you know, enjoy life while I'm in. I am left. So I kind of thought, and I said to myself, it would be a good thing to give him to Croke Park. I decided I'd put him back into where I won him.
The medals don't mean that much to Jimmy. I think it's wearing the blue and gold and wearing the blue of Munster and being a great hurler and contributing is much more important than the medals to Jimmy.
I can always go in and have a look at them when they're there, and I do go in there. I take an old trip in there now and then. Nobody knows I'm going in there, but I go in and I look at them, and then I say good luck to them and walk out. So there's nothing wrong in that.
In Úrlas agus Jimmy Fossanís, ní bheith an 10 sport a bhain, bhí an amáint an uachtar.
I lived with a hurley in my hand. I had a hurley in my hand when I was a kid. My father made me a pair of hurling boots at the age of 2 because I used to love the cogs hitting the ground. And my father, Jerry, was a shoe repairer. He was a cobbler. And he made a pair of hurling boots for me with the studs and all, the cogs and the boots. And that'll just tell you that. And when I go to bed at night, I used to go to bed with me hurley and me ball, and my mother used to come up and take the hurley from me and put it in under the bed, and I'd wake up during the night and I'd put it back up again. He had people tormented. It was hurling. Anyone that came to the house had to hurl with him, hurling out on the road, hurling everywhere. This is where we started hurling, in this pitch here. there was a big door there, big green door. And I gave hours and hours hitting a ball against that door for hours and hours on end. My mother used to come over, she call me from the gate outside and roar at me at 11 o'clock at night to come home. And I used to roar at her, I'll be down in a minute, every minute was a half an hour.
You'd hear the ball hopping off him night after night. He might pick out the spot, and I'd say 9 times out of 10 he hit that spot. That's how he got his accuracy. He was deadly.
It was every young fella's dream to be somebody, and I actually picked Christy Ray. You know, I wanted to be like him. I done what Christy done, and I used to do it, turning the ball and lifting the ball. You know, I done most of his ideas. I'd follow him around the field up here first. I go from the town goal up to the Kleinen goal, watching him, watching all the moves he'd make, and, you know. And when the matches would be over, I'd end up in the dressing room watching him togging off and getting into his car, and then I'd go down to the Glenmorgan house, and I was so small that people wouldn't even see me. I was able to feck in behind all their backs and get in and watch him eating his dinner, and then I wouldn't be finished with that either. I'd have to watch him walking down the square and coming back up the other side of the square. So as I say, he was really an idol of mine.
Hánig feabhas mór immer Jimmy nuair a bhí sé scoileagus na braithre Christaí in Uirlas.
An chuid den trá clár na seachtaine go raibh síimeige ann ná an trá go dúchttar cluichí Ní raibh sé rá thucha den na hábhar eile, agus mar bhúntóir níor chuir mé an tóir níor chuil mé mór an cisteanna nó brú, níor chuir mé brú The higgis got to be an imáint an tábhar is táchtaí.
Le ling de Jimmy bheits a scoil, bhóidir corn an airtaigh, rud náfil déanta ó Hinnacha.
Actually, he was the lord of that, you know. He played very well that day. He played for a number of years, so he went back to school just to play with them. I'd say he's the only reason why he went back to school.
Timpeall an Amasa bhí clú ábhaintach ag Jimmy le fórne bhínúran chunta, agus fuair sé de simmert a barca chrócaig den géadúir.
I'd say the first time I ever saw Croke Park, I hurled in it, in the minor All-Ireland. I was always looking forward to hurling in Croke Park.
Ní bháin go rána ag bhínúirí hibridáin, a ceithre bliain as a chéile. Caig a ceithir, caig a cúig, caig a sé, caig a seach. Hepar hig le ceanis na héir an chéadhbliain, nuair bhí Jimmy mar chúl báire.
And there was an awful commotion that year over to know whether I come out the forward line. From the goal, I was goalkeeper. It didn't happen anyway. They kept me in the goal, and as I say, Dublin beat us by 3 points. I never liked playing in goal, because I always thought that if you could block 50 or 60 good balls and let in one bad one, and the supporters will always talk about the one you let in.
Na 3 blianta na dhéic sin, agus é na chaptaíon uair amháin ar a líad de bhuad ar craobh na héir, agus Jimmy Doyle a measc na dosathe, agus ceandas na príomhcúisne go éirigh le ná go raibh an fear sin ó Torla Sarsfields Jimmy Doyle go raibh sé gimmar te measc na dosathe.
Fenám go sríoch na sé leis na minúir, bhí áit bhuanaige ar an hínseir Hebridáin.
It was minor in 57. He played a great minor match in 57, and he came on the senior team afterwards. I thought that was a great, an amazing thing to do, to be a senior and minor on the one day. And we were playing Cork in the senior. He came on that day, and he played good.
Bhain Jimmy parca chrócaig amach a ríist I mí meán fór 1958, den gúigiú bliain as a chéile, nuair a dimir sé ina chiad chlutha ceannis sínsir.
Galway had a buy-in to the All-Ireland. I mean, they really weren't rated, even though they had a great team, I thought, but they hadn't got match play, buy-in to the All-Ireland. So the real All-Ireland was, I think, the semi-final where we were playing Kilkenny. And Jimmy was the man who won that match more or less on his own. He was the only forward that really sparkled that day.
Railway end, Larkin takes a shot. It is pulled down by Benson, but in a flash, Jimmy Doyle is on hand to drive it over the bar and leave the score at Tiberdorden, Carachul agus Shacht Golini, Galiev, Garchul agus Carachul.
Jimmy scored 1-8 that day, and that was the total Galway scored. And you have to remember, in that era, the Schlitter was much heavier, so 1-8 was a fairly formidable tally.
To win an All-Ireland at such a young age, and to play in Croke Park in an All-Ireland final day, is something that people won't ever forget, and I won't. I won't, up to the day I die, I will never forget it.
Cegref sé néim líon a déag níos óige ná Christírí. Bhí sé fear feig blianta fada. Sol hánig an láúnta go raibh an verta go ránathe iarn na mún I gimmert I gréibh an bmhthairí.
Next thing I saw, the Munster Railway Cup team was after being selected, and I was after being selected as right half forward on the Munster team. God almighty, it was a fabulous thing to be on a Munster team. You know, I was only 18 or 19 years of age.
Well, the Railway Cup then, of course, was a huge competition, you know, in the year of Christy Ring and Jimmy Doyle and Nicky Rackard, all those great players. The Railway Cup would have commanded huge crowds because you had the creme de la creme of hurling, and you didn't as well have so many competitions as you have now. Championship was knockout, the league was the league, so it was a huge platform for all the best hurlers in Ireland to play in the one place.
Buieshe seo den ágar, aine chur an té a bhí na dhí beagaige.
Agus an glúndar a bhí a Jimmy dó til an bhí sé dochsreit. Bheit ar a bhuiirn céanna leis. Agus Christy sort mar dhíaige. Agus dó lo sé lam go ráudar sa tomra céanna in Óstán Barry's.
I was lying in the bed where two of us were talking. He had a hurley and a ball in his hand, and he was hitting it from left to right, catching it. And I was ducking in the bed in case I got well to the ball, but I said to Christy, what are you doing? He said he was keeping his eye in. You see, that man adored hurling too.
Agus fós na déaga ba hálaich Jimmy Doyle, ach bhí héile fós le buinteachige. Bhí feibna le gortathe ag Jimmy Doyle a héal imirthe fad. Nuair a bhrí sé a rútíine gluthe ceannis na mún an 1961, bhí áras go mbeadh sé olamh de gluthe ceannis na héireann an bhliain sin.
I went home and I was there for 4 weeks, not training. You know, it's a hard thing to do. You see your mates there out there in the train, I sitting in the stand. You know, it's terrible.
Bhí Jimmy dinge bháilte go muin fion pláster dó an am don gluthe. Bhí scrúdú aclaíocht a fósta déanamh ige féin, ige Kieran Carey, agus ige Tony Wall.
The three of us had a fitness test here in the field. And we went into the town goal below. And I was grand. My accuracy was still there, and I was still able to do the things I was able to do, but I was still only walking. He probably knew that. So then after about 10 or 15 minutes, he says to us, I want you now to trot around the field. So I remember starting below and coming around the area here. And he says, when you come to the 40-yard line now, he said, I'm going to blow the whistle, he said, and you sprint. And I pulled up. I was after getting caught on the ankle. I wasn't able to go. It's no use saying I wasn't. So he came over to me and he says, Jimmy, he said, I have bad news for you. He says, you won't make it. He says, you can forget about it. He said, you're not going to make it. So I went home and I cried. Why wouldn't I? Broken hearted after all the years training. And the next thing anyway, the doctor came to the house and he said to me, mother, where's Jimmy? She said, he's upstairs. So she said, call him down, I want him. So when I went down to him, he says to me, Jimmy, he says, there's still a bit of hope for you. He said, I can deaden your ankle. He says, from your knee down. But he said, you will have a problem, he says, if you do hurl. If you break the ankle. If the ankle breaks, if you break it, he says, you won't know you broke it.
Chuig Jimmy sa tans, agus bhí sé ar a barc don gluthe ceannis.
I suppose it meant that we weren't going to have an informed Jimmy Doyle, and it was going to take from the team, which it certainly did. We were very lucky to beat Dublin.
Croke to Bowen. Bowen to Jackson, and Dublin are only 1 point behind.
Dublin got a chance in the last minute. I think it was Willie Jackson got it. And I think it hit the crossbar. And we just pulled through.
Jimmy stretches Tipperary's lead to 2 points.
But going back to the question you asked me about Jimmy's injury, that took an awful lot from the performance of the team. He was half our team.
Another minute's gone, and Jimmy Doyle races through to put Tipperary 3 points in front.
It's very hard to perform at your best when you're nursing something and have pain-killing injections and strapped up. But so he was marvellous what he did with working through the injuries.
Mar chaptain yn 1962, ní raibh sé saoire gortú ach an oiread.
Behind the Artane boys band comes Willie Rackard and the men from the model county, while Jimmy Doyle leads the Munster champions at Tipperary. Tipperary captain Jimmy Doyle restores his side's 5-point lead.
Like when I got the stroke, I thought it was Wexford we were playing. I think it was Nick O'Donnell. I got hit down on top of the shoulder here. But when I went down, I was on the ground, and the Knights of Malta men came in, and I thought I was okay until I got up and put my hand down for the hurley, and I fell down on my face. It was broken here, the collarbone was broken here. So I was taken out that day again, I was taken out. But we won that too, the 62-1. So we were lucky.
In imirt gharaf na linne sin, is omí gortú eile a bhain faoidá marach an chosan bhreise ón na choileacathe.
There was a perception that Jimmy needed to be minded, and I certainly got into trouble once or twice myself by extending the hand for Jimmy, because like we kind of took offence because of what Jimmy was for anybody bullying Jimmy. You know, it wasn't treated nicely by us.
Ach bhí Jimmy I muoín na sciile a bháin na gcónaí. Níor bheith an air mílteach láidere, ach da bhí na bun sciile na galéirige. Ach sin éon fág raibh sin an imar chomá a feadh tréimh se anna adar fad.
Bhí saoil imre fada tarthúilige ach díoc sé go deireas.
God, I do. I have arthritis in all the breaks I got on me bad knee and me ankle and me collarbone. I have it in the shoulder and I have it in me back. I had discs out from time to time. I had 14 discs out. As a younger age, I had 2 discs out. And, you know, I got them put back, and I was always trouble with me back. Even up to the day I retired, I had trouble with me back, and still have it. But it's worth it all. I do it all over again.
Bhfuil Tipperary rách lethe ceannis eile in éige chéile in 1964 agus 65, agus Jimmy in ard a réime mar a miróir.
No, we had a team there. You know, I could go through them all, and we were all like brothers. You know, we were all different clubs. But I'll tell you one thing, every one of them would die for you. They were a great bunch of fellas, and we all adored each other. That's why we were so good. You know, I'm saying we were so good. I mean that the team was so good. They were all equal. They were all equal. There was no outstander.
And who to take it but their captain and sharpshooter, Jimmy Doyle.
Like, you rely totally on him, like, for the simple thing. And when I say the simple thing, like, he was the cream of the team insofar as that when you opened the paper on a Monday morning and you looked at the scoreboard, Jimmy invariably had his 17, 18, 19, and sometimes more.
He was a guy that was always on the move. When he hit a ball into the full forward line, he just didn't stand still. He moved in expecting a return pass or something like that. He was very hard to keep an eye on. You had to be nearly tied to him.
And one of the things he did that time was when other people were going for 21-yard frees, if they were going to go for a goal, you could see them winding themselves up to go for a goal. But Jimmy would walk up and you wouldn't know whether he was going for a goal or a point. But suddenly he might drop the ball low and swerve it, and it would end up in the net. And nearly every time he went for those goals, he got them.
Like, I've no doubt in the world that if Jimmy had the luxury of playing with the hurling balls we're using today, I don't believe that the scoreboards could take the scores he'd be getting. Like we were playing with a big old heavy hurling ball, which was a novelty to score from 70 yards out, and a huge novelty. Like he was using the All-Star ball today, or the O'Neill ball we're using today. Like he'd put it in your pocket.
Jimmy with another chance. Jimmy lobs it in, keeping this ball in
And he was the best man I ever saw to give a pass. I often saw him in full flight, and he would be going to take a full swing at a ball. And out through the corner of his eye, he would spot somebody in a better position. And he used to catch the hurley shorter. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that ball would be pushed nearly into your mouth rather than your hand. He was so accurate.
The Tipperary man taking the field, watched by Jimmy Doyle's father.
Fennéidig seachtó hain, ní raibh ró lárnach a gesta bhirden agus deir sé as. Ach began do gúnta glech a rísteir áfach.
I suppose history repeats itself, you know. I started as a goalkeeper and I suppose I finished as a goalkeeper. I played in here, Tig Murphy of Rossgrey. He was out of a job, and I suppose being out of a job you have to go someplace, so he went off to England. And he left them goalless. There was nobody to stand in the goal, so they came to me. My father, Lord have mercy, and told me they were coming down looking for you. He says, it's up to yourself now, he says, whether you want to go back or not. That's your business, he says, but they're coming to you tonight, he says, they're going to look for you to know, would you go back and goal? They have no goalkeeper. So, of course, I couldn't let him down, you know, it is me who I am.
Lá spóideach a staid sempel, hí Jimmy ar a láthair a chuir clásúr leanna fréimhse ar a bhirden sínsir.
Knocked across there and it's in the net, it's in the net, Frankie Nolan.
Limerick played him here. That was the famous day that Richie Bennett scored a pint, which I'll still say, Richie, I know you're probably looking at it, but anyway, I still say that ball was wide, because I was behind the town goal. I was going into goal for Murphy that day, and they changed their mind, they left him there. I was delighted, really, because Murphy got an awful tormenting that day with big Ned Ray full forward. And all I could do was laugh over the idea of it, but there was two of us under the flight of the ball, Len Gaynor and myself, and I wasn't wrong, and Len wasn't wrong either. I think the ball was at least a foot wide. But anyway, Limerick got the verdict, and they got to the All-Ireland and won the All-Ireland. So I can't say anything. Fair play to him.
And there is a free for Tipperary and Jimmy Doyle to take it. And Jimmy sends it high, and Jimmy has sent it over the bar for a point. Jimmy Doyle, the scorer, the top scorer of the decade in hurling.
So an Galerian Rodawine, honoured Jimmy Doyle, mar a dersiad sa verle, I banti on na Haman. No rauni ag fuidn an chéad, agus fuidn na mílíse, the vi Jimmy Young. Now ní raus mar raun oed lo sin. Ag tam cinte de, go raibh sé sochar in an agnig na raun oed I galéir ag an dús. Well, cahig Christy ring bhehaun, cahig dín áir bhehaun, ach vi Jimmy Doyle a mes na nína gonéirach na raun oed. Cahig Jimmy Doyle.
He shoots a brilliant point to put Tipperary 4 points in front.
It was always too refined for hurling, like myself. But Jimmy was so quiet and unassuming, and never was anywhere pretentious, or never was anywhere pushing himself forward. But he always did everything nice and quietly, got on with the game.
Jimmy Doyle to take this one, and he sent it over the bar.
I enjoyed my 10 years playing with him. It was very enjoyable, and in my opinion, he regularly hit on the reach.
And here the inimitable Jimmy Doyle scores again.
Of all the comments I had passed about Jimmy Doyle, I covered the same territory as Christy Ring in my working life with Esso and Christy with Shell. And somebody approached us about, you know, who is the best hurler of all time now. It was a cynical question to ask Ring, because we all perceived Ring to be the best hurler. But Ring turned to me and he said, you know, Babs, he said, if Jimmy Doyle was as strong as you or I, that nobody ever asked who was the best hurler ever. Now, that coming from Christy Ring, I suppose, was the greatest compliment could be paid to anybody.
If you had a hurley in your hand and a ball, you always had something to do. And as I said again, if I was to do it all over again, I'd go in my own front door at home, I'd pick up that hurley and ball and walk out and do the very same thing all over again. That's all I can say. The only thing I hope is that he's not thinking of me up there. He's after collecting an awful lot of good forwards and good backmen there in the last couple of years. And I hope he's forgetting about me for another while anyway, until he do call me. I hope he's not looking for a forward yet anyway. I want to stay a little bit here in this earth.